Enterprise Management 360.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of Tech Chat. On today's episode, I'm going to be speaking to the co-founders of SwissCognitive. I've got Dalith Steiger and Andy Fitze joining me. Now, what we're going to be discussing today is how different industries are affected by AI and the ethical implications of this. So let's get started and see what Dalith and Andy have to say on this matter. Dalith, Andy, thank you so much for joining me today. So, I think a good jumping off point here is obviously to talk about SwissCognitive. So from my understanding, it's a global AI hub that helps to unlock the potential of AI. But can you give me an overview of what SwissCognitive hopes to achieve?
Sure, thanks a lot for having us. SwissCognitive is actually a brand that stands for real and practical use cases in AI. What for us is very important to do the reality check, do expectation management, and bring all the parties involved in the ecosystem to discuss mutual experience, to exchange experience, to talk about best practice, and very important also worst failures, because there is where we can learn from each other.
Excellent. So from an AI perspective then, which industries do you believe are embracing the future of AI?
Some industry are having more potential to elaborate together with technology around AI. For example, it's healthcare, especially suppose one of the leader in the industry sectors that really can achieve a tremendous efficiency steps, but also new business models. So there is really a difference in the industry. So other industry are more stuck. For example, financial industry, banking have done a huge step even before AI emerged on the market. But they are starting now a bit how to handle this new technology. But other industry are really going well and using this new technology and turning upside down every single corner of the industry.
Definitely, and you're seeing the investment tenfold really. So retailers looking to invest $3.4 billion. Healthcare, you mentioned there, that's $1.7 billion. And the finance sector, that's $3.3 billion. So it's huge numbers that are being invested into this field. But what are the logistical implications from a, let's say, manufacturing standpoint and just generally implementing these practices?
One point is normally they're investing in efficiency, or especially some retail, for example, do a lot in marketing research or marketing acting, how to act in the market. So that's one point. The other one is if they see, okay, there's not only the potential of efficiency, potential of marketing, new marketing process, there's also potential for new business models, smart products, smart services. And that gives even more potential to the different industries. So to invest, what they do today is mostly related by marketing and efficiency. But a long-term investment strategy coming more and more up, that they also rebuild or re-engineer their business models.
Excellent, yeah. So another element that always gets brought up is when we discuss the ethical aspect of all of this. So it comes about trust and awareness for people. And one thing that I wanted to get your thoughts on is, does there need to be a standard practice of ethical decision making across all industries, or does it need to be different for each sector?
I would say, first of all, we struggle with the problem that what is an ethical standard if we're talking about Europe, the States, or China, or any other areas. So there is where the struggle starts already. For us, coming from Switzerland as a neutral country, I would say that we're definitely in a very good position to define certain ethical aspects that should be applied for AI. And I think also that we have the neutrality to scale it globally. From an industry diverse perspective, I think there is not really a differentiation. I think there are like guidelines that wherever we apply AI, we need to make sure that it's with respect to these AI ethical aspects.
Definitely. And I think there's so many factors to that when it comes down to at the very beginning and when you're inputting this data, making sure that there's no bias in the data that you're using. So my question is, do you think there will be a point where there's no bias in data?
I mean, first of all, what I really always like to mention, if we're talking about bias and data, for me, it's kind of the first time that a human being is forced to question himself certain questions. I mean, a very easy example within HR, going through the process of looking at the CV of a potential candidate. The human being is never asked like whether his stomach feeling is biased or not. So we have a certain kind of expectation to the ethical aspects within our mentality, culture. But at the end of the day, now we really have to ask ourselves, okay, what does that mean? And for me, we actually enforce giving guidelines for not to be non-biased than if just like a group of people or even one single person is taking a decision.
Yes, 100% agree with that. So as we wrap up here, I want to get both of your thoughts on basically what prospects and industries excite you about the future of AI. What do you want to see happen in the future, basically?
Let's take the example of manufacturing and logistics. And here we have single optimum in a company or in a car or in a vessel out in the sea. So we get along over hundreds of years probably that we have the single optimum in a vessel, for example. So if we joining the information from all or for a huge amount of vessels, so we can deliver totally new models how to be efficient. Because now we do not have the single optimum, we have a constant way to find a system optimum. And this kind of optimization, this kind of efficiency you can bring to all the industry.
I'll be happy to share where my passion is, and I think if we looking again at healthcare or actually everything that is relying on the sustainable goals, hunger, education, we have a huge potential how we can actually support the humankind by implementing smart technology in all different kinds of ways.
Wow, that sounds perfect. I'm excited to see what happens, and I'll keep my fingers crossed for that in the future. And that's a wrap. Thank you so much, Dalith and Andy, for joining us today and giving your insights on the AI industry. Also, thank you to everyone for watching. And if you're interested in generating leads for your business, then make sure you head on over to the Tell Us Your Audience page. We can generate your content across North America, APAC and Europe, and then generate SQLs and MQLs right back to you. That's a wrap on this week's Tech Chat. Make sure you go to em360tech.com for more information. Also follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And we'll be back next week with another episode. Thank you and goodbye.